One of the most important things that we can do for our clients as independent advisors is to help them get into a position where they can make thoughtful, informed decisions. And one of the areas where we often see confusion or the lack of a sense of making an informed decision is SERPs, or Supplemental Executive Retirement Plans. And with the banking industry, the prevalence of SERPs is quite high, depending on any group of companies you might look at. Maybe 40 to 50% of those companies will offer some form of supplemental retirement to their senior executives. With the other components of pay, like salary and short-term incentive and long-term incentives or equity awards, there's a lot of available, useful public information around those components. With SERPs, whether it's through surveys or through even the proxy statements, surveys are only going to give you prevalence type information, but not give you information about the value delivered through the SERPs. And proxy statements, while there is a column in the summary compensation table related to SERPs, that information for purposes of benchmarking or structuring compensation internally is really not useful information. The challenges associated with setting SERP to the side and not incorporating it on a holistic basis show up in both on an external basis and internal. If you're doing benchmarking compared to a group of peer companies and you're only looking at cash compensation and maybe equity or total direct compensation, which is commonly what's looked at, and you're leaving SERP off to the side, if you feel good about your competitive positioning, looking at just cash and equity compensation, and you don't provide a SERP to your executives, the likelihood that you're under-competitive is really high. On the flip side, if you do provide a supplemental retirement arrangement to your executives and you've only benchmarked the components of pay of cash and equity, you likely are going to be over-competitive once you add in that SERP component. And the reason is that some of your peers are going to have SERPs in place for their executives, but not all of them. And from an internal perspective, it's really important when you are incorporating, if you are incorporating SERPs, to know the value that you're delivering in total compensation so that on an internal equity basis, you understand what's being delivered through that vehicle. The value delivered to those two executives is significantly different, and you need to be aware of that and be able to incorporate that along with the other components of pay to make sure that on an internal equity basis, total compensation is where you want it to be.